I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
following is a presentation of AOW Productions.
The views and opinions expressed by the host of this program do not necessarily state or reflect those of this station or its management.
Every patriot has an obligation to question authority. Those who are honest are not concerned with your watchful vigilance, and those with integrity are not concerned with your discernment. Every American is obligated to voice their concerns and stand up for their freedoms and liberties.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the men in the arena. We are the Patriot Confederation.
We will never back down from a fight. We're undefeated Americans.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Patriot Confederation for the 30th of July, 2024. Yes, almost at the end of another month. I'm your host, Bad Billy from Twin Falls, Idaho, joined as always by John Grosvenor out of Nashua, New Hampshire, New England area. What's going on with you, brother?
Doing good up here, Billy. I can't believe we're already this far through the year. It seems like once we reach July, it's over. You know, the year flies by so fast after that.
Oh, boy. But, yeah, and we're about 100 days away from November. And we'll be talking some about that with our guest. First off, I know that it was originally advertised that we would be joined by Sheriff Larry Kendrick out of Owyhee County, Idaho. He fell ill and could not make it, but this gentleman, Dr. Jerome Corsi, stepped up at the last minute. Thank him. God bless him for that. Dr. Corsi, thank you very much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good, Billy. Good to be with you guys. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we talk about a resume that wow, you got quite an impressive one of especially with the books you've written. And then, of course, your media appearances include John B. Wells, Steve Bannon, and, of course, I just watched only a few minutes of an interview you had with Anderson Cooper on CNN.
That's right. I think I've been everywhere over the years. I think I've been on every major station, every major show over time. I've been at this for over 20 years. And keep going. Just keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, you're putting out the truth out there, and people need to know the truth. And I want to start out by saying, you know, that a lot of people are looking at Kamala Harris as a big joke, but I'm going to tell you this. I mean, yes, I agree. She is a joke. She's an idiot. But if a Kamala Harris presidency doesn't scare you, it damn well better.
Well, she's a Maoist. She's a communist, and she started out as a Maoist and is still a communist. And her views are the most radical views. I mean, I haven't seen anything radical. She wants to defund the police.
Yes.
She wants to let immigrants into the country at will and just make them all citizens. She wants to give everybody welfare. She wants to embrace the woke agenda. She praised this Olympics opening ceremony with all the
that was so disgusting
sacrilege against Jesus Christ and the Last Supper. She thought that was moving forward for America. I mean, I haven't found a single thing she endorses that would do anything but destroy America.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, she says that crime would be at an all-time low under her presidency.
That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous.
Well, she's right in a sense that, yeah, they're going to erase all laws off the books. So
that's right. There won't be any crime, so do anything you want.
Everything's going to be legal.
Except don't do a Catholic mass in Latin, because then you'll be you'll be a white supremacist and you'd have to be put in prison. Don't believe in God. Don't marry a woman and stay married to her. Don't have a family. These are things that are just evil in her book.
And if a transgender person wants to date you, you better say yes, or you're some kind of bigot and your life is ruined.
That's right. And
I'm a bigot here, local bigot.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not dating
these things are so disgusting that they believe, and they expect us all just to say, "Oh, that's all fine." We accept your agenda. We want to celebrate transgenderism. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not celebrating transgenderism. I mean, I'm not. I'd recommend that they introduce the men with dresses to all the Spanish they're bringing in the country, because I don't think the macho are going to go for it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but Kamala Harris presidency will be nothing but a total disaster.
Oh, horrible.
I mean, we've already seen that a Biden presidency, what is it has already done. Now, Harris presidency is going to be so much worse.
Well, I think they're just going to do a weekend with Bernie. They're going to get a dead person and make him president, and they'll do AI to make him talk, and Obama will be in the back moving the mouth. That's about where we are right now, and it's ridiculous. I mean, this is not government. This is these people are insane. We're letting the schizophrenics run the country. These people think that whatever they think they are. So your gender is not your sex. Okay, I mean, that's pretty interesting. Now, what's my gender? Well, your gender is how you identify. Well, okay, how do I? Well, you could be male. You could identify as a woman, but you could identify as a woman feline. A woman feline, a different species that would now reincarnated from ancient China.
Yes.
And I'm supposed to relate to this. Now, what's your pronoun? Your pronoun is go get some mental help, please.
Well, my pronouns are clearly on my Facebook and Twitter, /yours.
Yeah, I mean, these are, and we're supposed to sit here with a straight face and listen to this stuff and say, "Oh, that's okay with me. Whatever you want to be, it's fine." And I've seen admirals in dresses with lipstick. I'm saying to myself, now, how do you salute that? And they're out there trying to vaccinate you with a vaccine that doesn't prevent the disease. And, a bad flu, they want you to lock down and wear a mask. I mean, these people, why are we listening to these people?
40, 50 years ago, they were making comedies out of this. Remember Klinger from MASH? That's a real deal.
Klinger's now running the country. He's running the country.
And I've already talked about this a little bit, but I've heard some trans person, giving a big salute to Flip Wilson and the actor who played Klinger, saying, they were original drag queens. I'm like, do you realize why those two men wore dresses? It wasn't because they were drag queens or they weren't trans or anything like that. They did it to be funny.
It was an act. It was an act. They were ridiculing.
Klinger's character, Jamie Farr, by the way, but his character he was portraying himself as having a mental illness to get a medical discharge.
He was trying to get discharged. This was his way to get out of the war. He's saying, and he kept trying to sell this, and they all knew it was an act. That's what made it so humorous. It made it funny. But but nobody took it seriously because you knew that he didn't take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. And I thought Flip Wilson's role as Geraldine was spot on classic. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Look, there's always been, I've been to New Orleans. Okay. I've been to New Orleans when I was a kid. There's always a show bar. There's always been some transgenders. Okay. But we didn't celebrate them. We didn't say we had to applaud them. It was a freak show. It was, and you go into it as a kid, you say, Mommy, why are these men wearing dresses? This is bizarre. It's wrong. It's ridiculous. And yet, because it's fringe and the 1% do it, 1% of human beings are going to do any crazy thing you can imagine. They're going to jump out of good airplanes just because they like the thrill of, the fall and opening a parachute. They're going to do all kinds of crazy things that they think are fun. and some of them are going to kill themselves doing it, and that's the way it goes. But that's not the norm.
Exactly.
Average normal human being says, wait a minute, I'm male or female, and that's confusing enough. I don't need any more than that.
Now I'm looking through your list of books, and there's one I got to ask about. Now, I'll start out by saying this. About a year ago, I bought a book. It's called the Anti-Communist Manifesto by Jesse Kelly.
Yes.
And oh man, it's a great book, and it pretty much explains that the whole mindset of Karl Marx when he wrote the Communist Manifesto. In fact, rumor has it, I don't have any documents to back this up, but rumor has it that Karl Marx actually presented his ideas to someone, and they read it over and they said, "We can't do this. This is crazy." And that same person 2 weeks later was shot.
Yeah, well, Karl Marx was first of all, he lived in London. He didn't work. He didn't bathe. He smelled.
Yeah, that's what I was reading that too. Yes.
He believed in God, but he hated God. He didn't support his family. He borrowed money from people. He went to the London Library and sat all day and wrote this stupid book, Das Kapital, which took him forever to write, and it made it impenetrable as unreadable, unless you're nutcase. And so this was the end of his life. He had this big beard, and they buried him in by London, outside of London, and people go to his tomb and piss on it. That's what they do. And that seems to be the most appropriate thing that's happened to Karl Marx in his entire existence on Earth. He's a stone in which people go to a cemetery to piss on. And the point is, the dribble that he introduced, anti-God trash, failed. He said in 1848 the workers of the world would rise against capitalism. They didn't. They formed labor movements. They found ways to share the wealth. We produced the Industrial Revolution. We produced great wealth, and he was wrong. So today's capitalism thrives, and the communism today has abandoned Marx and gone into what they now have, what they call the Frankfurt School, which has redefined the anti-capitalist movement as a culture war. They want to destroy the culture of capitalism. And so they want to have their movement was have the sexual revolution, uninhibited sex, because work inhibits us. And so therefore we should have the machines do the work, and we should just have sex all day long. Now, I don't know about you, but, sex all day long, maybe when you're 13, 14, 15 years old and you haven't had any, sounds like a good idea. But I know very few human beings who want sex all day long. And so therefore, if you're obsessed with sex, I'd say you got a mental problem. Because, a lot of human beings, I think you guys would say, we need to have some time for hunting. We don't need to have any sex at hunting. We go out and hunt some things. We need some time for growing things. We need some time for reading. We need some time for doing things we want to do.
Yeah.
And we're happy to have the women around, but we actually understand the dogs better than we understand the women. And that's why God invented football.
Exactly.
So I mean, these are fundamental things that human beings come to realize, is that God created sex. It has a purpose, really procreation. Your marriage is going to stick together because you have children. You want to raise them together, and you find a way to keep loving each other if you're smart and realize that you marry another one, you get the same problem all over again. So you might as well deal with the one you got.
Be fruitful and multiply.
And then occasionally find time, instead of just having sex all day long, is read a little bit of the Bible. And if you do that, you might get through this experience sane. If you don't do things like this, you're going to end up like Karl Marx, and people can come around, piss in your grave, and be sorry you lived.
Oh man. So the book I want to touch on is the Anti-Globalist
Yes.
Manifesto.
Okay,
Uh,
that's coming out. That's coming out here.
Oh, it's not released yet?
No, it's coming out here in about probably, I'd say September. Bannon is publishing it as a war room book. And they want us to create the Anti-Globalist Alliance internationally, and I'm in the process of doing that. And I'm very pleased with this book. It's a strong statement about the woke and the anti-God, the need to return to traditional values, the need to return to community. I mean, I can see where both of you live is not in New York City. You're living in a sane environment where I'm sure you've got community. And outside of the cities, which are becoming increasingly democratic hellholes and not safe. And the country and the world has been in a worse condition than I ever imagined it would be. And it's intentional. These people destroy. Marxists destroy. They don't create. They kill. They're Satanists. They hate life. They want to kill babies. They want to kill babies in the womb. And, this is, they want to violate all God's laws. They want to be God. Well, I'm sorry they weren't God. And actually, I'm quite glad God had the good sense to not make them God. If they're God Satan, I'd be happy when they all go back to hell together and stay there for a long time. And right now, our job is to put them back there. We've got an election coming up, and we go with Kamala Harris. I mean, I'm not 100% convinced she's not a witch.
Well, the way she cackles,
She's doing all this hand stuff, which is all the Satanism that she's doing all the time. And I just can't, I mean, and her, nobody likes her. Democrats ended up with the one candidate they didn't want.
Yeah.
And
I mean, why did they put her in the, if she was so hated, this is my thing, is I hear about how much she was hated. She didn't even make it to the Iowa caucus in 2019. But how did she get to the vice presidency if she's hated so much?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think
nobody votes on that.
Yeah, and I think it was Obama who put her there. I think Obama said we need a woman of color, and she was his choice at the time. I don't think he really knew very much about her, but I mean, he wanted to put her in there. And Obama's been running the show from his mansion in Washington, D.C. And I've said from the beginning, since I wrote the Obama Nation, and by the way, I picked Abomination because abomination, the biblical term, desolation of abomination. I mean, this guy is an abomination. This guy.
He is.
He is. He acts like the Antichrist. I mean, if he could apply for the role, he'd probably get the part. The point is he hates America, and he's now actively taking steps to destroy America. And so, therefore, I think that we've got here on the edge of this thing a spiritual battle that we're fighting right now that we have to win. And I think we've also erred on the side of God because we put up with too much of it. We've had too many babies be killed since Roe v. Wade. We've let them take God out of our schools and our hearts and our city halls, put Satan statues in there. And we should have been objecting to this a long time ago. God expected us to object to it. So I think we got a lot of repentance to do. But I think God will, I believe in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if we accept our responsibility for letting this mess occur, God will forgive us. He will hear our prayer and heal our land. And I just pray these demons don't cause World War III and a nuclear war in order to prevent Donald Trump from being president. I think that could be their October surprise. I worry about that.
Oh, I mean, isn't it ironic, too? I already heard one of Kamala Harris's groupies, well, a Democratic groupie, as I think is a better term. But people are saying, oh, Donald Trump's going to start World War III. And then this person says, if it's going to take World War III to keep Trump out of office, so be it.
Well, they're the one. They project onto you what they're intending to do. And they signal what they're going to intend to do. They for some reason in the State Department, which wants to push NATO to the edge of Russia on Ukraine. Ukraine's a corrupt country. I think the Zelensky faction does more cocaine than any other head of state that Obama ever did, or Clinton, both of which did a lot of cocaine. And we have heads of state that don't belong. They belong, cleaning the toilets. They don't belong in the White House. These people are not morally qualified to be leaders, and yet they come across with all the media and all the hype and all the deep state hoopla, and we're supposed to believe all the trash that the mainstream media concocts in the echo chambers, one after the other, about how Kamala, or is it Kamala? I don't even know what her name is anymore. And this woman is pronouncing these things to us, and when you take a look at her history, she wasn't particularly good to black people. She wasn't. She imprisoned black people who shouldn't be in prison in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, I heard some stuff about that. In fact, I love the turning of the tide. That you hear a lot of black people are basically waking up. One black person, I guess he said something about doing time, doing a bunch of time that he shouldn't have had to do on account of her, and there's no way he's going to vote her for president. And he said he's not the quote unquote not the biggest Trump fan, but he's definitely not giving her his vote.
I'm finding there's a lot of blacks and Hispanic who are not going to vote for Democrats. They're registering them all. They think they're all going to come over and vote for them. They're handing them out money and identification cards, and they're doing everything else they shouldn't be doing, to the neglect of citizens who aren't getting comparable benefits while they're living homeless in these cities. And they don't care, because the Democrats are strictly about power. They've done nothing for their black constituents except impoverish them. They run these cloud pivot schemes where they bankrupt cities, they bankrupt everything, they spend and steal the money. And we're supposed to say Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at this laptop. I'm sure you have, but the laptop is disgusting. It's just disgusting. And I mean, this is supposed to be acceptable behavior, and then we find out the Bidens are CIA assets. So that's why. I mean, the whole thing is so rotten to the core. I'd say move the entire federal government to Death Valley and give them all the sun and all the solar and wind they want. That's the only way to get rid of this bureaucracy. Move it all to Death Valley, and it'd be a plague on Death Valley, but at least we would get rid of them. And you're not going to solve this problem as long as the bureaucracy is there, and they're making their own rules, and they make them. We're all going to use EVs. Well, I don't know if you guys have ever been in an EV that actually ran out of electricity. You can't open the doors. You're locked in there. And what do you do with the EV when they're supposed to build these 4,000 changing stations? They built 4. Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have. I've ridden in these EVs. I think they function bizarre. They're like a motor. As soon as you hit it, it revs up immediately. It's not like a gas combustion engine, but the batteries catch on fire. They can burn down your garage and your home. They take forever to recharge. They don't recharge in the winter. Can't resell them. Go into an accident, they cost millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix. They're like a computer, and Musk with his Tesla has this nice computer screen, but something goes wrong with those electronics, you're dead in the water. Can't even steer the thing.
That's why I'm really myself. I'm against the whole idea of AI. I mean, what is artificial intelligence? There is no artificial intelligence.
There is none. It's just somebody's idea.
Yeah,
clever putting things together, and they've done.
I mean,
very intelligent searching of so it sounds like it's intelligent. It's operating along rules that somebody wrote. and it has no intelligence. It has no consciousness. It has no real functioning ability. Now, it may appear to learn because you build a program which it does accumulate knowledge. It can beat you at chess because it has a stronger memory capability than you do. But, an airplane can fly farther than you can fly. That doesn't mean the airplane's inherently smarter. That and so AI is not inherently smarter because it sounds smart, or it can construct sentences, or it can follow grammar rules that somebody programmed into it. It's like, you build an airplane and mechanically it can do superior things than what a human being can do. It doesn't mean that airplane is now to be worshipped and God and in control, and we're supposed to all bow down to it and follow its dictates. It's just a stupid computer program.
I mean, one of my lessons in reality too was, when I was a kid, I thought that robots were like something you've seen in Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever. Now I work at a factory and I realize, these robots grab the car parts that I'm not going to touch because they're out of the aluminum foundry, and they dip them in the water, and then after a certain period of time they give them to me for me to sort.
Yeah, I mean, it's programmed.
Yeah.
And it's going to do that program over and over and over again. It's mechanical.
Yeah.
It's not thinking. It's just following a sequence of computer programmed instructions.
Yes.
And as such, human beings aren't going to follow. Human beings are going to get bored and stop doing it after a while. Pretty soon you're not getting the parts the way you thought you were getting them because it got bored. It started thinking about something else. Well, the machine's not going to do the machine's not thinking. It's just repetitive. Okay, and so
it just does its job, and that's it.
It's programmed to do. And so that serves a function, but again, it's a function that is not an advanced cognitive function, and to think that it is a mistake. And the human beings have a special characteristic of life, soul, experience. We're going to die. It's a peculiar experience. We're not here forever. We grow. We go through lots of things in life to try to get through it all. And in the end, it fails because we all die. Or it succeeds because we all die. Depends on how you want to look at it. But nobody's going to get out of here alive.
Of course.
And by the time the human beings are gone, the machines will still be moving their arms and pieces as long as there's electricity. Electricity stops, the machines stop. And so the point is, we begin to worship things that we create, and we think they make us superhuman or transhuman. We can merge ourselves with machines. We can start thinking these wonderful ideas. We evolve, and then we become computer code. I think Bill Gates thinks he can become computer code.
Oh, I've been saying this for the past 2 or 3 years. How the hell does Bill Gates know anything about the medical industry when he can't even fix the viruses in the system he invented?
Well, they threw him out of India because his polio vaccine was giving people polio.
Oh, he's wanted for murder in Africa.
Yeah.
I think Uganda.
Yeah, I mean, he's a criminal, and he's a little punk. I mean, this kid, he stole everything in his life. His whole history is really a fake biography. IBM gave him the initial DOS computer. They didn't want it, and he made something out of it. But the point is that these things get elevated to his godlike status. And suddenly because he's got money, we're all supposed to bow down to the Bill and Melinda Foundation. Well, Melinda left him because he evidently has some freaky sexual habits, like wanting to go to these, bizarre Hollywood parties, nude swimming and dope and all the rest of it that he got into, evidently. I don't know for a fact. But she does. She's not married to him anymore.
Yes.
And so, look, the key here is These are not normal people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We shouldn't idolize them.
Absolutely. Well, you see that screen there? That means we are at the bottom of the hour. So that means we need to take our bottom of the hour break. We will continue with this discussion here with Dr. Jerome Corsi in just under 5 minutes. So with that said, please don't nobody go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Hey friend, do not forget to shop our affiliates. There's Mike Lindell's MyPillow. Go to mypillow.com or mystore.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save up to 66% off your order, or possibly more if there's a special going on. Or call 1-800-652-3982 to place your order. There's also My Patriot Supply. Make sure you're prepared for the next unplanned emergency. Get yourself some food with a 25-year shelf life, water filtration systems, solar-powered equipment, and other essential goodies at My Patriot Supply. If you like cigars, there's Patriot Cigar Company. Go to mypatriotcigars.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save up to 15% off your order. There's also We the People holsters for great inside the waistband and outside the waistband holsters, apparel, and other goodies at We the People holsters. Tactical Brotherhood offers merchandise that's veteran-owned and American-made. Your purchase with Tactical Brotherhood supports veteran organizations. Make your life easier and better with merchandise from the Caravan to Midnight store. At Concealed Carry, you can get news, purchase merchandise, obtain firearm safety training, and much more at Concealed Carry. Enroll in Red Pill University, where you can go beyond the matrix and learn what's really going on in the world. Protect your investments by investing in gold or silver from Noble Gold Investments. Silver Lining Herbs offers a wide range of herbal supplements for horses, dogs, and people. Harness the natural benefits of herbs to support the health of your beloved animals, as well as your own health. Visit silverliningherbs.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Support your health and be prepared for any emergency in the Brighteon store, and shop from a wide selection of ultra-clean and lab-verified superfoods, supplements, preparedness items, and other health products. Elevate your heart health with Cardio Miracle, a nitric oxide supplement that promotes and sustains the body's natural production of nitric oxide. Visit cardiomiracle.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Check out the Folium PX line of antioxidant supplements: Folium PX, Folium Relax, and Folium Immuno. Visit FOLIUMPX.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. In the RNC store, a service of the Richardson Nutritional Center, find quality natural health supplements to improve your wellness. Visit rncstore.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. At Patriot's Cave, buy apparel, hats, drinkware, and other cool stuff for the real American patriot. At Mammoth Nation, shop American and veteran-owned merchants and get exclusive discounts. Use promo code TIBN, the number 4, USA. Where do you go for children's books with a Christian conservative perspective, minus the woke nonsense? Brave Books, that's where. Use promo code TIBN, the number 4, USA. The links for all of the affiliates mentioned here can be found in the description of this video, or visit thebeardedpatriots.com/affiliates. Again, all of the links for all of the affiliates mentioned in this video can be found in the description of this video, or go to thebeardedpatriots.com/affiliates. See you there! Tulsa, Oklahoma, the buckle of the Bible Belt. Home of the BOK Center, the Philbrook Museum, U.S. Route 66, and Red Pill Expo 2024, November 16th and 17th at the Renaissance Tulsa Hotel and Convention Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Can't make it to Tulsa? The expo will be live streamed and archived should you miss any of it. Red Pill Expo is the major public event of Red Pill University. The mission of the expo and the university is to bring together world-class experts to set the record straight on fake narratives, fake history, and fake news. At each and every Red Pill Pill Expo, truth seekers unite to get a better understanding of how the world really works, a world where collectivism reigns. It's time for individualism and an open mind. Mark your calendars and make your plans now to attend Red Pill Expo 2024. Get more details and register today at redpillexpo.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on Patriot Confederation, joined by Dr. Jerome Corsi. And John, I don't think you've had a chance to get a question in. I don't know if you're itching for it, but
Well, actually, I was thinking earlier when you were talking about Marx and Marxism. Doesn't our did I just lose my microphone? No, just
Nope,
my headset. Sorry, it's my headset. I was wondering, does our bureaucracy or our Administrative Procedure Act, does that not follow Marxism in a lot of regards?
It does, and they are very much Marxist oriented. They're Hegelian also. I mean, the more Hegelian than Marxist. They constantly want to create this collectivism. You know, they have ideas that they can make rules. You know, the EVs are a good idea. I mean, that's what good illustration. Electric vehicles. There's nothing wrong with hydrocarbon fuels. The science is complete. I've written books on this. The science of climate has nothing to do with burning hydrocarbon fuel. Carbon dioxide is a minor molecule in the atmosphere. It's 0.04% of the atmosphere, and we're not responsible for very much of it. And it follows warming. It doesn't cause warming. It's all nonsense. But yet, that's not. They like the idea of control. And they like the idea of the collectivism for the common good, all these Marxist ideas. And of course, they don't mind. They want their own private property. They want their own wealth. They want your wealth. They want to tell you what to do. Now, when you get into this kind of thinking, you put people who are not elected, unnamed, in charge of making all the rules. And you get all of this coming down the pike. We're being ruled by a group of people who are nameless and exert authority from behind a desk by writing rules in the Federal Register that people can object to but are not going to get very far. And the rules have nothing to do with any popularly elected government motive. I mean, these are simply ideas that the bureaucracy thinks they want to impose, and usually they have to do with restricting capitalism, depopulation, being detrimental to the middle class, and making themselves rich and making themselves comfortable with their cushy government jobs. And they all live in the Beltway, and they all Georgetown parties and coffee shops. They think they're the elite. Well, I think they ought to be dispersed around the country, made to live like normal human beings, live in the cities they create. And we don't need an unelected bureaucracy running the government. But how do you get rid of them? That's the main problem I've been coping with and trying to advise. I do seriously say constantly, move it all out to Death Valley, get rid of it.
yeah, it seems like we have an infestation in Washington and a few other places. We're talking. Let me tell you something. When I lived in Ohio, I love that community and I miss it. I don't miss the weather, and I don't miss, unfortunately, the infestation of cockroaches that I had to deal with in that house and I was living in. I'm telling you, it's bad, and they are so tough to get rid of.
They're impossible to get rid of.
Like politicians,
Right?
Like our politicians, we just. Oh man, and I don't wish death on anybody, so I'm not going to say exterminate them, but we got to get them out.
Well, yeah, go ahead. I lived in Ohio too. I was born and raised in Ohio. When I was raised there, it was a great place, and it still is a great place in many ways.
Love it.
But the cities like Cleveland and others, Cincinnati, have become.
They say the 3 C's: Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus.
And they've deteriorated because they're the Democratic run.
Yes, they have.
And the Democratic run across the country are deteriorating. They're deteriorating fast. And they're going to go bankrupt. and we're not headed in a good trajectory for the middle class. The elite don't care. Do you think Obama cares? He's got his, his mansion in Georgetown, or no, up there in
They've got
Washington,
four
D.C. Yeah, we've got one in Martha's Vineyard. This guy was living on credit cards before the state legislature was going bankrupt, before he ever decided that he was going to become now suddenly the new savior. He's going to hope change and part the waters, and everything was going to be great, and we're going to have fundamental change in America. Well, I don't want his fundamental change. Never did. And
you get change in your pocket, and that's all you're going to have if you're lucky.
So the thing is we hear people say government's corrupt, and quite frankly, I don't think government within itself can be corrupt. It can be corrupted because parties are corrupt. And I hear these people say, well, we need to take back our local government. That's the way to fix it. And I'm saying they're wrong, because corruption starts with the party and ends with the party. And you see these things. So right now, the left is harping on Project 2025. It's the great evil of the world, and it's out to get us, and it's a boogeyman, and they're going to make us all wear diapers or whatever. It's ridiculousness. But what people don't realize, the Brookings Institute puts out a leftist agenda every year. Right. They got their own playbook.
And so did John Podesta with he put out a whole playbook of what, this is what Obama needs to do. The left can do it all the time. The guy, by the way, who was running the Project 2025, I think got fired today when Trump said he didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, this is
Robert Rowe.
I don't remember the name, but I did remember reading that they changed the head of the program.
Oh, wow.
That's 900 pages long, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, these things are ponderous documents that nobody reads except policy wonks read these things and live on them. But the point is, we've gotten away from the fundamental values upon which everything depends. And when you lose those values, they have to do with God, they have to do with family, they have to do with fundamental values of honesty, they have to do with the Bible. When you get away from that, human beings become very, very nasty and evil, corrupt. We're a fallen species. And you let the Obamas come in with these ideas of social engineering, or the bureaucracy, which has their own bizarre version of bad ideas they're going to implement with rules. And pretty soon nothing works. And that's where we're kind of at right now, and it's dysfunctional. Now, where it goes from here, I don't know, but I constantly think, and people are sensing, that we're in for a major series of crises. I think we'll have a global crash. I think we're going to have another worldwide downturn that's going to be massive. I think we're going to face, the dollar is rapidly losing value.
Of course.
We're doing $35 trillion in national debt. We're spending most of our tax revenue to pay off the national debt. We have the modern monetary theory where we just print the money we need. Well, why are we borrowing if we could just print the money? Nothing makes any sense. And it wasn't meant to make any sense. It was meant to control us and to confuse us and to disorient us. It's doing a good job at divide us.
The old saying is, from chaos comes order. Create the chaos, then bring the order. So now you can reconstruct or reform the country.
Well, that's Hegel. That's the fundamental. It's a negative dialectic. You got to destroy to create. Well, these people are good at destroying, but they can't create afterwards. They just kill millions. So Stalin takes over. He has mass collectivization farm project, kills millions. Mao is a great leap forward, kills millions.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they're good at, because they have no respect for human beings. They don't allow human beings to make their own decisions, live their own lives. The great, you began your program with a great statement from Ronald Reagan, which was that we were once the greatest country because we had the greatest amount of individual freedom. We let people pursue their dreams. We let people fail. We let people succeed. But fundamental values of the country were not in question. We didn't have generals with dresses on that we were celebrating. We didn't have
yeah,
Satan in our city halls. And these people are doing bizarre things that we're allowing to happen because, again, we don't want to, we want to go along. We hope they'll go away. Well, they don't go away. They just take more power. They just get more importance. They assert more rules. And pretty soon, taking your children away and doing sex change operations, not letting you know.
In the days of our forefathers, some of the stuff they're trying to pull today, those people would have found themselves at the end of a short rope.
Yeah,
they would not have played games. They would have done away with them.
Well, in a sense, the early American values had much more fundamental freedom to it and much more common sense to it than what we've got today. But, people went to church. They read the Bible. They were instructed. They were encouraged to stay together in marriages. They were encouraged to raise children. They were back at the land. They were farming. They were in touch with real things every day. They weren't getting up in the morning in a tall rise building in New York City and taking a subway somewhere, buying a cheap cup of coffee in the street and trying to get to work in an office building that they hate. So, that type of life in a city that's unsafe because you've got illegal immigrants who don't speak the language and they're getting the benefits, and there's crime everywhere, and the police are told to be defunded and they can't enforce the law. And so you expect this to be a livable city that's going to be fun to be in. And by the way, it's also going bankrupt, and it's being run by minorities who think that they need to have DEI and ESG and all these other initial things, which don't make any sense at all. And then you go in to see your mayor, and the mayor's got a wig on and, and a dress and a 6-month beard. And you're supposed to look at this guy and act like it's normal. You don't break out laughing, which would be my inclination. I mean, you got to be kidding me. But instead, you're supposed to salute this general or admiral and follow the instructions. I think our military could do a transgender parade down Fifth Avenue better than we could fight a war. Because we've disabled all of our fundamental institutions with schizophrenia, insanity. And it's intentional. That's the thing you got to realize, that this was a plan. Gramsci, I said all these communists who architected this intentionally to destroy, thinking that afterwards we could build the utopia. Well, human beings are not going to have a utopia because it's not meant to be a utopia. You're not going to live forever. You're going to die. You're going to get sick. You have problems. You're going to go broke. Things break. Things don't work.
Well, there is a utopia in the afterlife, but we got to make sure that we do the right thing in this life.
Well, that's the point. This has consequences.
Yeah.
This is a testing experience. This is intended to be a growing experience, and we've got to embrace it in order to develop our souls to a higher level, which is respect for God.
And let me interject with one thing that I said, and actually John read this comment from me on Facebook. I said, if I were an Olympic athlete, I understand the sacrifice that somebody has to go through to get that far, to try to reach that goal and achieve that dream of winning an Olympic gold medal. But after what just happened in Paris, if I were an athlete, I would withdraw from the games, and I would say, I know I worked this hard to get this far, but is a gold medal worth my soul?
Yeah, and that's the kind of question people need to ask. And then you realize that they're putting you in dormitories that don't make sense. You've got men and women mixed together in the bathrooms, and you can't get a piece of chicken. You're eating bugs and all this other tofu crap that they have from their green agenda. And, you're listening to their French nonsense and trying to make sense of, why am I here? I spent all this time, all this work in competition. I'm a woman, and now I got a man in the competition. I don't have a chance.
Oh, by the way, I read an article yesterday that I just got to share a little bit of. Is I guess Leah Thomas, the swimmer, is leaving the country, said this country doesn't deserve me.
Yeah, I mean,
bye bye.
yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know if you've ever been to France. I've been to France.
The airport. I've been to the
Yeah.
Paris airport, but
Well, I've been to France, and the French are not particularly nice people in many ways, and I much prefer Italy, and much prefer the Italian culture. And the French are just really very snobbish and very elite.
I hear the streets are filthy.
The streets are filthy. The people are filthy. I mean, they invented perfume because they don't bathe. And the whole thing about Paris is a particular unique inbred culture. And
Goodness. I'm sorry, Dr. Corsi. I wasn't expecting some of the comedy you'd throw here, but it's great.
Well,
I'm not sure he's trying to be comedic or if he's serious here.
I'm serious. I mean,
yeah, he sounds like he's dead serious.
I've
I'm
been
really
there.
serious, but I can't help but laugh.
It does come out a little comical. You're right. Are you telling us that the French aren't terribly into bathing today, or were you referring to years ago?
They're still not into bathing. I mean, they do it, but it's like the French, even their apartments, the way they live are very distinct from the way most Americans will live, which the hygiene is different. And then the whole I speak French. I mean, I speak French and Italian. I can get by in French in France, and if you don't speak French, they won't even talk to you, and they'll but I speak it, so now they got to deal with me as an American speaking French, and they're not particularly happy about that necessarily. And then I know the foods that they eat, and if you're selective. If you like the French bread and pâtés and snails and everything else they eat. But again, it's a bizarre place in that it has its unique kind of quirks to it. It kind of like enormous quantities of wine. You got to, have lots of sauces in everything you eat. And the food is complex. I don't know particularly how they live so long, but it's just it's unless you're French and come up in that culture, half the time they're so rude to you and so inconsiderate. And
I have heard that if they find out you're an American, they will be insulting towards you.
Yeah,
and like hold their nose and say "pew pew Americano" or something like that.
Well, I confuse them because I can speak French to them. And that does confuse them. And, the problem is that they are disarmed by that. But they're not, France is, now get outside of Paris, it's different. The countryside of France is much more pleasant.
Oh, I got you. So it's mainly, you're just talking about Paris.
I'm talking about Paris really more than anything else. I'm talking about Paris.
Yeah.
And the Parisians are just, they're really hoity-toity. And they're all having affairs with each other, and they're all, I mean, the sex morals of France have been, and then they go up in the French history of Robespierre and these reigns of terror, and it's just a bizarre place. And even when they did this movie on Benjamin Franklin recently, which was quite good, and seeing Benjamin Franklin over there with all the French women and the morals. I mean, he must have had a wonderful time, but he had a great sense of humor, and and he played with them and he toyed with them, and I'm sure he had a wonderful time.
Oh, he was a partier, from what I understand.
But he got right.
It was duplicitous, right? He liked to party with them, but he also got information out of the process.
He got everything he wanted. He won the war by getting French help. And he did that by turning the French against the British, whom they hated. And he understood all these dynamics. He was a very, very brilliant and very clever man. I think far underestimated.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of our founding fathers were this way. They were quite intelligent. They were well educated, but they were moral, and they could play the game. Now, Sam Adams did not particularly enjoy Ben Franklin or approve of him. And that was made clear in that film that because Sam Adams was about as straight as you could get, and Franklin was playing the game. And the point was that when you look at this whole culture and you think about the bizarre nature of human existence, the United States still has a solid middle class intact for a while. But as it gets under duress, this continues, we're headed for a great crash.
Yes.
And it's going to take a revival to get us out of this. We're going to have to come back to God. And I just fear that these people who are depopulationists would cause a nuclear war. And I'm hoping that we can prevent that. But this election is very critical. And thank God that Donald Trump, God spared him on that assassination attempt. And I'm convinced that was an attempt by the CIA and the Secret Service to open up a window in which a shot could be taken, just like they did with John Kennedy. And I book on the final analysis on John Kennedy, which shows that Kennedy was shot twice from the front with the forensic evidence of the x-rays, is done quite well. But the point is that we can't trust government any longer.
You never could. That's
We
what
never could.
Never could.
That was fundamental to our whole concept. We couldn't trust them.
Mhm.
And we've allowed them to become dominant and big and control us.
And our forefathers told us this. They warned us this.
And Franklin made it clear that we had a republic if we could keep it. And they doubted we could keep it.
Well,
If you ever read de Tocqueville, I think, is one of the more brilliant analysis of the American character, because he understood the inventiveness and the independence of Americans, which has persisted through Ronald Reagan. But after we get finished with Clinton and Obama and all these, and Biden and now Kamala,
the Ugandan nightmare. Remember the wrestler Kamala? So kind of.
I remember Kamala. And, the Kenyan nightmare and all the other bizarreness that we've had to deal with since 2008. Actually, since Clinton's come around. I mean, Clinton was dealing drugs, the CIA flying cocaine in and out of, out of Nicaragua or out of Colombia with the CIA when he was governor of Arkansas. I mean, this guy was hospitalized 2 or 3 times, virtually dead from overdosing cocaine. I mean,
There's no big surprise there. Unfortunately, we are coming to the bottom of the show, and before we conclude it, number one, I'm going to ask. I know you got a website out there. I'm going to ask you to plug that, or you can also see it in the description of this video. But I'm really, really interested in this book, The Anti-Globalist Manifesto.
Yeah, but coming out August 13th, so roughly 2 weeks from now, if I'm not mistaken. That's about right. 2 weeks from now.
I give you a link, Billy. I looked it up. Skyhorse Publishing. You can link into Barnes and Nobles and things like that. And I assume you can pre-purchase, can you not?
Yes, you can Thank you. You can, and it's going to be a War Rooms book, so it'll be featured on Bannon Show War Rooms, and I'm probably going to start a campaign here to get Bannon out of prison. I think is a travesty that he's in prison. So I bet he's having a good time and getting a good rest, except that I'm sure he'd be rather showing out there fighting for Trump.
What are the chances of getting an autographed copy?
Sure, we can arrange that. We'll figure that out.
Yes.
Hey, can you keep us posted on the on your efforts with Bannon? Maybe we can help you share it and try to get it out there. And
I'll keep you posted on that.
That'd be awesome.
I have great admiration for Steve, and I'm honored that he's publishing the book. And I've known him for years, and I greatly admire all he's done and accomplished. I think he's a great American and fought for this country, and was instrumental. I played a role in Donald Trump's elections, and he did a major role. And so therefore, I think, we're all praying here that Donald Trump pulls this through. A lot depends on him doing that.
Yes, indeed. And before we wrap up here, what's your website?
It's the Truth Central.com, thetruthcentral.com.
thetruthcentral.com. Well, Dr. Corsi, I really appreciate your time and thank you for stepping up on such short notice, but it's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's been fun, guys. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on tap for next week, we should have Sheriff Larry Kendrick out of Owyhee County, Idaho. He's endorsed by Sheriff Richard Mack, Gun Owners of America, and us, the Bearded Patriots. That announcement will be coming out soon. Until then, thank you very much for tuning in to Patriot Confederation. God save the Republic of the United States of America.
Events of recent history indicate that Americans are setting a course for the end of their own great nation. The ever-growing trend in this country is to judge people not by their individual character, but by their identity as a member of a specific group. No one has ever succeeded or failed in life as a result of their group affiliation. A person's success or failure is also not based on luck, but on the sum total of the decisions that they have made. Those who succeed do so through good work ethic and the wise use of their power to choose. The opposite is true of those who fail. The ideals of individual accountability and responsibility in the United States are dying every day. A gun cannot be responsible for a death, just as a shovel cannot be responsible for digging a ditch. Both are only tools and have no will of their own. Responsibility is an adjunct of conscious choice and is the price we pay for freedom. Freedom is also a tool. It's an essential tool that is needed by human beings if they are to prosper rather than to merely survive. Yet there are those who would rather trade their freedom for security. Some believe that it is the responsibility of government to provide freedom. In truth, we form government to ensure and protect the freedom that is already inherently ours.
All right.